Welcome back to the show with no name. Today is Friday, October
23rd?
No, 19th, 26th.
26th, that's, yeah.
It's got to be the 26th because your birthday's coming up.
Yep.
What is it, Sunday?
Sunday.
Oh. He's, I mean, it's hard to believe looking at him now, but he's going to be 130 years old. Right?
Take off 30, then it'll be closer.
Yeah. 80th birthday.
80?
Yeah.
80 years
Can you
old.
believe that?
Wow.
Look at him.
Wow. That's impressive.
That is very impressive. Anyway, this is Jim Nakosha and Gavin Murdoch. I'm Bob Going, and well, although okay, so we just tipped off. Your birthday's in two whole days.
2 whole days.
2 whole days. Today is Swap Shop Joe's birthday.
He's 65.
It's
Oh,
Joe
really?
Isabel's birthday today. Yeah.
He's 65.
Yep. So happy birthday, Joe Isabel. I know we kind
Joe.
of busted you a little last week, but
Not enough.
also proved to be a very popular show. There were about 3 times as many people watched that part as the other part. Well, okay. I did find out. We're kind of speculating as to why he did what he did when he switched parties.
Yep.
It ended up being very simple. There's no guile involved. I mean, I like the advanced thinking that he's thinking ahead. If the mayor resigns, then he's eligible to be mayor because he's now a Democrat. And he did do it on the, it's not like he hadn't thought about it ahead of time. He did it on the last day he could do it and make it so it's eligible immediately after this coming election. So in that respect, I thought, wow, that's
Pretty astute.
yeah. And of course, next year would be another election year for the alderman, so he had to do it in advance so he could run if he does run for re-election, he runs as a Democrat. But the reason was very simple. He wanted the emergency management job up in Fonda, and they voted on who they were going to interview, and he didn't even get a vote for an interview. So. He said in advance if they don't interview me, I'm switching parties. So.
Is that right? Did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
And they didn't interview him, and he switched parties.
And they kept it in the family.
It's as simple as that.
Right? They kept it in the family, that job.
I believe so. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
completely keep track
Father
of
to
this.
son.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wasn't sure, but speaking.
Speaking of that, he might be very busy in the upcoming days, huh?
That's what he said.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the job. It's easy. Don't worry. You have to put in about 5 hours a week. Don't worry about it. This is practically a no-show job, guys.
It's a once in a lifetime.
I imagine his father had his hands full
Yeah.
when he had it.
That was interesting that they let the river down a little bit lower.
Yeah, maybe
as low as they could and keep.
Maybe Ehor was right after all.
Yeah.
Well, they
And they're gonna drop it below navigation this weekend.
But they're not going to do a thing with the dam. The dam is almost at capacity, they said.
They're not going to pre-let water out?
No.
No.
Not according to the paper yesterday.
Boy, that makes no sense.
I know it.
Yeah.
They took the siphon tubes off of the dam, I believe, that they used the last time for some reason to make new ones or something like that, and so they don't have those to let the water out in case there's a big flood. So.
Yeah, I was talking to some people who were volunteering, going down to Schoharie Middleburg area to help rebuild those houses from last year, just in time. Because the way this storm looks, and maybe a lot of you won't even watch this show before it hits, but
if they don't watch it before it hits, they may not be able to watch it for a while because they may not have any means.
The principal storm track right now, the one in the middle, and it could go either way, is going to it's going to hit right in that Schoharie Creek watershed area again. Riding up to Delaware and up into that way. Holy smokes! Just south of the Gilboa Dam, there's a spot, and I actually found it because I checked it out on the maps, and I was out driving one day. Actually, I was driving the back roads from Philadelphia to here. It took about 8 hours, but it was a great route, though. I mean, it's spectacularly beautiful coming up around the Catskills, up the Delaware River Valley and such. There's a spot just south of Gilboa where there's a swamp that's watershed both for the Schoharie Creek and the Delaware River. So that is actually the spot where the water flows both ways, and
divide.
And sometimes when you get those big hurricane storms, and the water drops on that spot, on that swamp, that's when you get, the Delaware River is flooding and the Schoharie Creek is flooding on the other side. And
the storm isn't the only thing that they're worried about coming up. This Sandy is they're looking at a snowstorm coming from the west.
Right. Well, an Arctic blast in any event.
And they said the confluence of 3 storms hitting in that area could be a disaster if they do.
Well, I mean, we could have a couple of feet of snow with hurricane force winds.
Probably good thing I'm getting my snowblower service as we speak.
Hell no. The street's not going to be open. What's the point of clearing your sidewalk? Boy. Oh. Just stay where you are. Stay where you are. Wow. So let's see. We covered Joe Isabel. Briefly.
How about them Giants?
Yeah.
San Francisco Giants.
San Francisco Giants, yeah.
They've certainly been doing well so far. One with a little small ball last night. I mean, that was nothing into the 7th anyway.
Yeah, the same guy. The same guy was involved there. Had that spectacular hit the other night. The ability of modern technology to show something you can never see with your naked eye.
Well, that's for sure, and there's something to be said about watching some of these things at home instead of in the stadium.
Absolutely.
Football, particularly. Football, you're there for the crowd experience, but if you want to know what's going on, it's you watch it at home. Yeah.
And that hit that Pence had hitting the bat 3 times was. Did you see that?
I didn't.
You didn't. Wait. You didn't see that?
No.
The game the other night. There's bases loaded.
Hunter Pence of the Mohawks.
Yes, who now plays for the Giants. Gets an inside pitch. It breaks his bat and goes a 2-run score. The outfield makes a mistake. He gets a double, 3-run score. But in slow motion, you can see when he swings where it hit the bat and broke. The ball then traveled down about 5 inches. Was struck by the bat again. It traveled down a little bit further, and the end of the bat hit it, which knuckled it, which was the reason the ball went out towards shortstop and took a right turn right before the shortstop. But you could see the ball hit the bat 3 times.
Fox in particular, they covered that game,
yes,
right?
They did.
Fox developed this super slow motion
3,000 frames per second.
a few years ago, and I remember watching a monster hit in their electronic slow motion, and you could actually see the bat bending.
Yes, you can.
The bat, the wood bends back.
It flexes.
Holy mackerel!
You wouldn't think a bat that big around would flex.
I don't even understand the physics of baseball. I people study it.
See ball, hit ball. It's a very simple game.
Yeah. Except you got a round ball and a round bat, or a cylinder bat. I mean, I don't understand the 200-foot pop-ups. How does that happen?
It's force by mass by...
Force equals mass times acceleration. That much I understand, but it's hitting it at one angle that makes it go straight up 200 feet. It's
magic.
Wow.
That's why they call it the gods of baseball.
Longest ball I ever saw. I don't know that I ever saw a hit, but I guess they use this literally in rocket science and planetary exploration, where you take the force off of one thing and transfer it to another, and we're playing over at the Four Diamonds, just a pickup practice game or whatever it was, and the pitcher. No, somebody's throwing the ball into home or something, and we're just fooling around. The ball hits the clay soil and bounces and heads toward the plate, and the guy who was waiting in the batter's box hits it off the bounce. It went a freaking mile.
It's also the rotation of the ball off the bat if it's overspin, which
right.
drives it differently. It's That's why it's such a fascinating game. A game
It is.
very simple, but the statistics that are used in it are incomprehensible. All the statistics you can get from a simple game like that, as far as player statistics and bat and ball statistics and reaction times, it's amazing.
Well, of course they have. Now with the computers, they compile the most absurd statistics imaginable. My son calls me the other night. He said, "Did you hear what they just said? They're talking about how many days it's been since between winning the Cy Young and pitching in the World Series, and how this is the longest period of time." Like, who cares? Who cares about that statistic? It means nothing.
But the pitcher got hit in the head with the batted
last
ball.
night.
Oh, I missed that too.
Wow.
Yeah, I read about it this morning.
Back part of it said right here last night, Pfister,
And it
and it
bounced.
landed out in center field.
Yeah.
That's how far it went after it hit him. And
And he continued
he
pitching.
Yeah, no big shake. Came out, checked. No,
And
okay.
it went out there,
It was
ball
just
hit
the
me
angle,
here. Yeah.
and
Just rolled right off.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Or as my mother used to say, testaduta. Or as they say in southern Italy, capados. Capados.
Okay.
I thought sure as hell he was going to fall on the ground when that ball hit him.
Yeah, he's like 6'6".
Shook it off.
Pfister.
The Chera had a theory on Verlander.
What was that?
Apparently he's dating some model or something, and he said they probably had a fight. That's as good a theory as any, I guess. The guy's been
Impressed.
the dominant guy in
Preoccupied.
baseball for the last 2 seasons.
Well, he hadn't
It's like
pitched
Samson Delilah, right?
He hadn't
It
pitched
could
in a
be.
week. Hadn't pitched
It
in a
could
week,
be.
right?
Yeah.
He spent too many nights at her house. That's what,
Wow. Speaking of which, sort of, I don't know whether you've seen truly the most mind-boggling political ad yet that Obama released yesterday, where they're comparing voting for the first time to having sex for the first time.
No, I haven't.
Oh my God! You look at it and say, "Did the Onion do this?" It is so tasteless. It is
Really?
Oh yeah, and you want it to be, someone special the first time. So you have to vote for it. It's like they're having sex with Obama. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it of course resulted in about 10 million hilarious comments this morning, and at the top of that, it was modeled off a political ad from a foreign country for Vladimir Putin. So I watched the Putin ad. They've translated it into English, and it's this sweet little 18-year-old girl going to the fortune teller, and she's saying, "Well, it's my first time," and she's blushing, and then it shows her going into the voting booth and voting for the picture of Putin with a little heart blasting out. So it's modeled after that. So they modeled after a Russian communist, head of the KGB, former head of the KGB, and they obviously think this is really,
Funny.
and startlingly cute, and everyone will love it. And somebody said, I don't even know where to start. So he said, "So, watch out, girl. He promised you a big stimulus package, and that didn't work out." But I mean, can you? I mean, this is a guy who's got 12-year-old daughter, and he's
Terrible.
know.
And then they show him coming in these rallies, and you think he was a high school
rock
pep
star.
player. When he's out there.
Right.
It's absolutely no substance.
Yeah.
It's all glitz and show.
Well, I guess we haven't talked since the third debate, right? I mean, it seems like it was 100 years ago, but it was only Monday.
Yeah.
Opposite the seventh game of the National League Series, and
opposite Monday Night Football.
opposite Monday Night Football.
And it's still got the lowest ratings, though.
Yeah, but it's still got pretty good ratings, all things considered.
Well, all the polls say that Romney's ahead by 5 points.
Well,
the last I
three,
heard.
3, 4. Yeah, yesterday they all converged. The major ones all converged on 50-47, which is. Well, you wonder how they can be all over the lot.
I know.
Obviously.
You can make them say what you want them to say.
Well, yeah, but obviously it ain't as much of a science as they claim it is. If
they can't all agree.
if they
Well, it depends on
disagree
what
by
you
by the margin of error, more than the margin of error.
It depends on who they're including in the sample. It depends on what time they're making these calls to people to get their
Yes,
sample.
and a lot of them, and I guess it's getting harder and harder to do because people are less and less likely to want to participate.
Yeah.
For example, they have a protocol they go through to find out if somebody is a likely voter. But mostly, what they're doing is self-described stuff. In other words, they'll say, "Did you vote in the last election? Did you vote in the election before that?
right.
Did you vote for the election on whether we should have elected or appointed constable?" Those are the people who are really likely to vote.
Mm-hmm.
But in Ohio, for example, and in other states that have early voting, if they say they already voted, then they're moved right over into the likely voter category. Well, what they're finding, so they don't go through the protocol. Did you vote
Yeah.
last election? No, we know you're a likely voter because you
already
just told
voted.
us you already voted. Well, guess what? Somebody calls me and says, "No, I already voted. Don't bother me anymore," right? It turns out that the likely voter category, for example, in Ohio, is more than or around twice as high as the actual people who have already voted. In other words, it'll say 16% of the people have already voted, but in the polls, 30% of the people have already voted. So now you don't know what you're getting in the mix. And when you're talking, you're talking small numbers of people projecting out into, you're talking. I mean, some of these polls are ridiculous. Well, we got a swing state vote that show so and so's got this was the lead here, among women, among men, among one-eyed pirates, and then you find out that the sample in a given state ends up to be like 17 people. No, come on, that tells you absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all.
I will grant that over a period of time, if you poll 3,000 people at random, you're going to get kind of a fairly good snapshot as these things go. But on any given one, to try to say that it means anything at all when your sample is so small, it's crazy. It's crazy, and of course the polls become the news because it's like watching a football game.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know who's
Yeah.
Oh, the momentum has shifted. Yeah, okay. The momentum has shifted in this thing. Holy smokes! I think.
And the polls also show a little bit biased on the poll takers. Who do they really favor? The poll takers themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So they're gonna
Yeah.
screw the numbers so that it reflects what they think.
In the end, their own business, though, so they gotta. I mean, some of these things, like the Quinnipiac poll is never right. The Marist poll is never right. Siena poll is never right. I think these not-for-profit ones are.
No, I don't think they're large enough to get a representative sample that
Yeah.
really means anything.
And now there's like 14 of them out there now doing.
Pick one you like.
Yeah. And I said, well, I mean, how do we know what's going on in New Jersey and New York and Connecticut? When was the last time they polled them?
And a lot of it's driven by who's involved in the local election and what's happening to attract people or to vote party
Right.
line and those things.
And so much of it, there's like, I mean, do you really think, even now, that anybody's paying attention to the Gillibrand Wendy Long election for the U.S. Senate in New York?
Oh, is she running? I don't think.
They had a debate last week in Saratoga.
That was attracted by a whole lot.
Yeah, it was on C-SPAN, so they got a little national coverage.
Massachusetts they were talking last night the importance of the senatorial election there because if the Native American candidate wins, it could swing the balance in the Senate.
Well, I was out there a couple of weeks ago. I don't think we talked about this.
Is that when you went for that interview that you're not talking about?
I can't say.
Well, you know what? I heard you didn't get the job.
I did not. No, John Farrell got the job. But,
Can't say I
think that by the way, that bodes very well for Tuck, I believe, because Farrell and Tuck were hand in glove out there.
Yes,
So.
he was. Yes, he was. So that's good.
Yeah, and I understand Tuck is another one of those people that Valentine refused to talk to. They wouldn't talk to him.
Really?
Oh yeah. Wouldn't talk to the pitching coach. Wouldn't talk to the bullpen coach.
Well,
Jeez,
maybe it's good for those guys. They're there and he's gone. So anyhow, you were in Massachusetts.
Riding a lot of the back roads between Waltham and or Waltham, as they pronounce it there. They pronounce everything strange. Waltham. Why would you pronounce it Waltham? Like it's ham. Waltham. I probably saw 8 brown lawn signs to every one I saw for Warren. Seriously. I saw virtually no sign of an Obama campaign. Now, 4 years ago, when Louisa was starting school, we were going to Boston quite a bit, and it was just the whole state of Massachusetts. Every car you saw had a Obama bumper sticker on it. Nothing. I saw one Obama bumper sticker the whole weekend, and no lawn signs and no other signs.
I've only seen one in Amsterdam.
No.
I saw one in Amsterdam
One?
on Guy Park Avenue, Obama Riley.
It's
Or
at 2012.
not Obama. Obama Biden, yeah.
I just obviously the enthusiasm level is down. Even Brian Williams said places where Obama was drawing 50,000 people 4 years ago, he's drawing 5,000 now.
You know why? Because he hasn't said anything different. The same.
Well, yeah, he might just as well have hit rerun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Getting back to the Monday night's debate, I thought I had an idea ahead of time what Romney's strategy was going to be, but I thought he played it just brilliantly, and it shows a lot about what kind of pizzazz this guy actually has. He refused to get suckered into all the baiting. I mean, and Obama kept baiting him, and Obama's insulting him, and everything else, and Romney's just smiling and being presidential.
Kept above the fray, and he didn't dig down. He didn't go after the debacle in Libya. He let that go. He took the high road on that.
He let that.
Which I think was a good idea.
You know what I thought? Well, for one thing, he demonstrated a knowledge on every question that was presented to him, whereas Obama, who's the president, the commander-in-chief, kept changing the subject and clearly didn't have anything more than platitudes to offer.
He was dancing.
Which is strange. I mean, you think a guy who gets daily. Oh, I guess he doesn't get daily intelligence briefings. If he bothered to get the daily intelligence briefings, he would know a lot more about what he was talking about. The question, I forget how far into, maybe about 2/3 of the way into it, maybe a little more. The issue got on Pakistan and Afghanistan, and should we just walk away from Pakistan? And Romney gave a very coherent explanation of our foreign policy and what it should be, and he's going on and on about this, sounding very presidential. And at one point, some people say we should just wash our hands of Pakistan and forget about it, and then he says, I don't mean you, Mr. President, but the way he did it was conveyed, I know what I'm talking about. This is the reason we should have this policy. I'm sure the president agrees with me, but it was almost as though he was saying, you're irrelevant to this discussion right now.
You look at foreign policy, he very well may be irrelevant.
It was, I said, this is great. This is this is so good on so many levels. I mean, he demonstrates his knowledge of the subject. He presents a coherent foreign policy. You know, he makes it a bipartisan foreign policy and says, "I know what I'm doing, and I don't care whether you do or you don't." Wow, this is good.
It was a great debate.
And you know, well, you know, Obama won on why? Because he kept punching. You know, no, Obama didn't win it. Krauthammer was right. Romney won that all the way on substance and strategy.
Obama just punched himself out.
There was a lot of rope-a-dope to it.
He really had nothing to offer. Nothing.
And when Romney finally really nailed him on the dictator thing, we don't dictate to other nations. We liberate other nations from dictators. Well, as long as we're talking about places we've traveled to, Obama says, when I went to Israel, I said, what? That's your answer?
Yeah. You know,
it's like, you know, they knew what kind of traps Obama was going to have from him, and he just refused to step into them. And you can see Obama seething because I've got all these great one-liners I'm going to punch him with, and I got no place to use them.
Yeah, he was seething too. He was really.
He was seething.
Yeah, he was. Really
well, and
mad.
of course, they're amateurs. This is what happens when you just go from the small time to the big time, without spending years in the wilderness in between, honing your skills. Somebody obviously told him after the first debate, well, you lost that in style because Romney was looking at you all the time you're answering, and you were looking away.
Yeah.
So this time he just stared, and he looked like a freaking Madame Tussauds mannequin, right? It looked like a wax dummy. And, you know, somebody on YouTube just posted the long stretch of just Obama staring, and he hardly blinked. You know, it's just.
Kept waiting and waiting, and the opening never came.
Wow.
The opening never came.
But Romney showed confidence. I tell you, the guy's won me over. He really has. He really has won me over.
And I think more than what Obama did, I think Romney is confident enough to surround himself with very knowledgeable people who can give him sage advice of which he can take, digest it, make an informed, intelligent, cohesive decision.
That's the key to that position.
Yeah.
Is having the right advisors, because you can't know everything.
Right.
You got a mosquito on your neck. That's gone.
Mosquitoes this time of year. It's
It's just, but you're right, Jim. You got to have good people. You can't. But Obama presumes to know everything and dismisses what others have to say and what they have to offer.
Yes.
If he ever gets to as far as that point, you know, that's the thing. He just he's lazy.
He knows more than everybody else.
But all you've seen in all three debates is just empty platitudes and outright lies. I mean, jeepers. And it's almost as though Romney's been playing this for the next day's news cycle, that he doesn't care if he loses on a point during the debate, if there's a subject that comes out that people are going to be talking about, and it'll turn out he's right. When Obama told him, well, he called him a liar how many times? Obama called Romney a liar, and then when they do the fact check, it turns out Romney's right and he's wrong. You know, that's the most outrageous whopper I've heard yet. Okay. All right. You know, I know a lot of people don't like Rush Limbaugh, but he does occasionally serve a good function, and I think I like him anyway. But even for people who don't like him, he serves a useful function. And, among other things, he keeps a terrific archive. And the next day, he ran clip after clip after clip of Obama's apology tour. And it's true, he never used the word apology. What he did was he denounced the United States under the previous administrations, time after time after time. And we're not going to be like that no more. Nope, we're going to close Guantanamo. Yeah, of that's really funny because, we're not going to do torture no more. You know, we're going to close Guantanamo.
We'll see. And
I know one of my liberal friends, Facebook friends, was frustrated because of all the times Romney agreed with Obama's statement of what the American foreign policy is, which usually has nothing to do with what he actually does. But wow, what a flip-flopper! He agreed with Obama on everything. I said, and I replied, well, it's when it's very difficult for the Republican candidate when the Democrat has essentially adopted the Bush foreign policy as his own during the last 4 years. And when you get right down to it, that's not far from the truth, is it?
No, there are aspects of it certainly.
Yeah, I mean, he except he doesn't know what it's about. I'd really be amazed to find what he really thinks our policy in Afghanistan is.
I think he'd be amazed to figure out what his policy in
I doubt he gives it much thought.
Well, he can't give it much thought if he's not in Washington for the past 2 months.
Well, he hasn't been there this whole term, really.
Nothing has really been accomplished. And there is I don't know if I read someplace I heard they were saying Obama either has to decide now the last 2 weeks to run on the record he's had, or make promises about what he's going to do that's different than he did the first time.
Yes. So now he suddenly, after the last debate, comes up with a 20-page brochure of my plans for the second term, most of which is pictures, and the rest of which is just repeated. We're going to create more jobs. We're going to have green energy. We're going to do, all the stuff he promised the first time around. Yeah. How'd that work out?
He's almost a cartoon character now, and so is Michelle.
Yeah.
I mean the lightweight programs that she involves herself in, to going on and protecting and covering for her husband when she's on the View and Jimmy Kimmel and stuff. It denigrates the office.
Yes.
It puts the office in a humorous perception. It's not funny though, but to take it down to that level, to be doing those things.
They're on a talk show every day.
They are. It's a talk show.
One of them's on a talk show every day.
Yeah.
I watched maybe 10 minutes of The View yesterday.
Oh, Jim.
Oh my God, Jim.
Man,
Jim.
you're a better man than I, Duncan.
Oh.
Wow. And they had the black guy on there. His show is Strictly Biased.
Martin?
I don't remember his
He
name.
got the new afternoon show on.
Yeah, Strictly Biased. And him and Joy Beham were talking. Everybody on that show except for Barbara Walters were solid Obama people. And that's all they talked about, how great Obama was. Except Barbara Walters. Everybody was laughing and she had a straight face. She was pissed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But to take those issues down to such a low level, it just...
Like a talk show
Now,
subject.
Bob Schaefer, I thought, did a stupendous job as the host. He kept it moving along and stayed out of it.
Yes, he did.
And showed no bias whatsoever. And I got to say, I mean, a lot of people on the right were criticizing his choice as moderator ahead of time. I met Bob Schaefer back in 1980 at the Republican National Convention, on the floor of the convention. And I'd been watching him for some years. At that time, he was doing the CBS morning show, whatever it was called. Maybe that's what it was called, opposite the Today Show. And I watched him quite a bit. And I went up to him. I said, "Bob Schaefer, I'm your biggest fan." He said, "Wow," big smile. He's happy to meet me, right? So I, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" All this, and why are you my biggest fan? I said, because I've been watching you for a long time. And I haven't the slightest idea what your ideology is. I always found him a very fair interviewer, or a genuine journalist. And I'm sure, I was sure then that he must be as liberal as everybody else is on that network, or he wouldn't have the job. But he was a solid journalist, and old school journalist, and I've never changed my mind about that, even though over the years his ideology has kind of come out.
In a few times. That's what it should be.
We know what it is now, because as the older he's gotten and different shows he's done. But I tell you, he was 100% fair in that debate, no question about it. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. You appreciate. Boy, you know, CBS used to have a hell of a stable.
They did.
You had Roger Mudd, you had Charles Kuralt, of course Cronkite, and then they just blew up when they gave Dan Rather that job. It was like, what the hell were they thinking when they had, you know, this is a show that has Harry Reasoner and Mike Wallace, network, you know, and Morley Saber.
Who do you watch now for your?
I haven't watched a network news program in as long as I can remember. And somebody asked me the other day, what do you watch in the local news on TV? I don't. I couldn't tell you who the anchors are, except I occasionally switch the channel, and I see Liz Bishop is still around. She went to college with me.
She's as old as us.
Huh?
She don't look as old as us.
She was in my class in college. Yeah, at Albany State. Yeah.
I thought she's a year younger than you.
No, she's 61.
Yeah.
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 Not bad for 61.
You know, and she survived a long time at the same place. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know?
She was, and I remember when she started out, I think, when we were still in college, being a sports writer for the Nick News.
It showed her on. It showed a clip on her yesterday with interviewing Jeff Blatnick when he was in college, and she looked like a young. Well, she was. She looked like a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Liz, yeah. I met Blatnick once, a couple of years after he was famous. I bumped into him in the Albany airport, and there was just no mistaking who it was. I mean, he's a big guy, and very distinctive features. And you know, he was as nice in real life as you expected he would be from watching him. You know, here's a guy who survived cancer and goes on to win a gold medal, and certainly brought a whole lot of pride to this area, a lot more than the guy who had the hash brownies last year or this year. Yeah. Oh yeah, it must have been those brownies my cousin gave me. Yeah, I mean, Blatnick made us all proud. He died ridiculously young. And how much time did he devote to kids and everything else?
Lots of times. He's always involved in fundraisers
most of his life.
and programs.
Oh, as long as we're going through obituaries, we got 3 board of supervisors obituaries that we've passed over. We neglected Shane Walters, and we had talked about him many times previously. What a good guy he is, and now we have to say what a good guy he was. But there's a guy who, as sincere as you could possibly get, hardworking, for the public. Made himself knowledgeable on every issue that was in front of him. Took everything seriously, even though he had the lowest weighted vote on the board of supervisors. Respected enough by his fellows to be made chairman of the board. And he started out as an independent. He got elected as on the Free Charleston Party or something the first time around. Just a good guy, and then he just suddenly dies. I mean, we knew he'd been battling cancer all year, but I guess nobody expected him to go when he did. And then Miles Frazier passed away. I first met Miles and Catherine, I think, in 1975, when we were both running for the board of supervisors for the first time. He was. I was running in the 2nd Ward, and he was running in the town of Palatine. It might have been his second time around. He might have been elected in '73, but he came to my house for a party that I threw for Bessie Lewandowski, who was running for county treasurer. And who else was? Oh, John Van Kersen was at that party, who was town of Root supervisor for many years. It was great. And there's another guy who just. How many years did he devote to public service, both for his town and the county? And straight as an arrow, just did his job to the best of his ability, and he had a lot of ability. I mean, he was one of those guys you turned to when you wanted to know something.
He made it his business to know what was going on.
Yeah, he was a guy who made me proud to be a Republican. And after a while, we all left. Oh, you're still in, right? You're still a Republican?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay.
You can still sit there.
You're not gonna go the Isabel route though.
Oh no,
Okay.
No. No.
You can move in one direction or the other from
yeah,
there.
my
but-
grandfather would turn over in his grave.
I guess he would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There'd be more than bagpipes
Like-
blowing. I'll tell you.
But my father would be happy. So.
Oh, is that right? It was one of those, huh?
He was so was my mother. She was one of those.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a very pleasant conversation around this time of year every year around the supper table. No.
You know, it's funny. My parents were staunch Republicans, and they both came from Democrat families. Well, I suppose my grandfather Going was probably a nominal Republican, but my grandmother was a Democratic committee woman. You know, and my Italian grandmother never voted for a Republican in her life. I don't think.
No, my grandma worked on the Nixon campaign for the city. My grandfather pitched in, and my parents they never saw the light. You know,
Yeah.
it's too bad. It's too bad.
Well, as Catholics, we believe the mercy of God can still come to people who are blind to the true faith.
And who was the other one? Who was, I don't remember the other one.
What was the question?
We
When
lost
he passed
supervisors.
away.
Oh, Kenneth Darrow was in the paper a couple of days
Oh, I
ago.
didn't see that one.
Well, I was shocked because when he got thrown out of the Board of Supervisors in '73, the town of Root, I think Van Kersen beat him. He'd been there like 30 years. And we're talking
Wow.
40 years ago he'd been there 30 years, okay? He was 97 years old, passed away.
Oh, didn't see that
I had
one.
no idea he was still alive. There were at that time. You remember that? It was after the Aquari Park thing, and Glenn Matheson, the county planner, was anathema to a lot of people, and that was the first real taxpayer revolt in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Every one of those people got defeated over the course of a 2-election cycle. The ones who didn't have opposition the first time got it the second time, or just about everybody. I can't say everybody because the guy I ran against, my cousin, he beat me. But you had Kurt Nellis out in Powhatan. Kurt Nellis, who I believe lived on Nellis Road in Nelliston, as I recall. He'd been there forever. Ralph Pitcher in Canajoharie, been there forever. Ken Darrow and Francis Diamond managed to get out because that was the other thing. They changed the law so he could be Commissioner of Social Services. That was the other thing they were revolting against. And so all these people, all these longtime supervisors disappeared overnight. Who's one? Trying to think the one in Fort Plain, Koval, maybe something like that. Just boom, wiped out.
When I was in college, I was taking a course in state and local government, and I did my paper on that debacle. You know, I got a good grade on that. One of the few good grades I got, but I got a good grade on that. I mean, it brought out all that good and bad.
Yeah.
And it focused on this one issue. It was unbelievable. I mean,
More than anything else, it was arrogance that got them beat. Not because Aquari Park was a good idea or a bad idea. It was the arrogance of it's none of your business. We'll tell you what's good for
that's
you.
right. Yeah.
Looking back on it, it may not have been a bad idea. It may have been a very good idea, actually.
It was all in the manner it was presented
Yeah.
and how it was handled.
It was funny. Of course, they had gone so far. You remember what Aquari Park
I
was?
remember.
It was out in the Fly Creek area of, I think, the town of Root and the town of Charleston, up on the border there. And the idea was to dam up the creek and make this giant lake up there that would then become a resort, and there would be winter skiing and cross country and downhill, and in the summer it'd be like Sacandaga and all this stuff. I don't remember who came up with it or why, but that was the plan. And truly, I mean, you probably know the story better than I do, Gavin, because I never wrote a paper on it. But I mean, it was truly a colossal thing, and it got to the point where they had actually taken eminent domain of all these farms up there, right? And you know, people were outraged. I mean, that's when Walt Dufel came to the fore, and Alice Knappick, and all kinds of people that later became parts of this and that taxpayer groups. And really, for the first time, the public was interested in what happened on the Board of Supervisors. Up to that time, nobody paid any attention at all. And so outrage. So eventually they all get thrown out. Quarry Park gets canned. The county planner either gets canned or sees the handwriting on the wall and gets a job somewhere else. And to get out of it, the state issued a finding that that there's not a sufficient water source to sustain the lake, and therefore it's not feasible. This comes after they've already foreclosed on the land and all this stuff.
And what happened to the land after?
Well, here's the interesting thing. That's where I was getting to. So now, of course, all these people were up in arms about the whole thing. When it was over, the new Board of Supervisors offered everybody their land back for what they paid for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And nobody took it.
Nobody.
They took the money and ran.
Some of that land became a potential site for the landfill, for the Mosa landfill, and then of course the same people or their descendants fought that, and the landfill never got built up there. Now the kicker is, a couple of years after this has all died down, and the state has issued their engineering determination, a family of beavers dammed up the Fly Creek, and the lake built itself.
All good things come to those who
Yeah,
wait.
have some more. You got want more coffee here? It's probably ice cold at this point.
But it just, I think, it just really underscores.
You still
what
have
it's
that
all
paper, do you
about.
think?
No, I know I don't have that.
You know you don't have
I
it?
know I
That's too
don't have
bad.
Yeah.
Because some of that's...
That must maybe archived at your school. Really.
No, it wasn't a senior thesis. Just
Oh.
a paper for the course. And
That's too bad. Because I did one, not quite on that topic, but involving the town of Charleston and the rent wars and and all that stuff back in the 19th century.
yeah. And the other local story I did a paper on was on the Mariahville Monster. Do you remember?
Oh, geez, absolutely.
I took a
You
course
remember
called,
No, I don't.
I took
remember
an
that.
interdisciplinary
The
course. They called
Mariahville
it-
Lake Monster. They pulled out this
Oh yes.
gigantic, ugly fish from
Yeah.
Mariahville Lake, and everything. Wow.
Because there'd always had been stories down
Right.
there, and it was this monstrous, ugly fish, and it turns out the guy had gone deep sea fishing as a ocean catfish.
Like in the Gulf of Mexico
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. So
Yeah, but I took a course called Sense and Nonsense, the Bizarre, and hey, what better, so I just used all the stuff on that, but that was funny. And my dad saw in the paper when it first came out, he said, it looks like something you'd catch in the ocean. Well, by golly, it was, but it generated a lot of
Well,
publicity
Mariahville
for about
Lake
a
isn't
week.
even a natural lake, is it?
No.
It's an artificial lake.
Yeah.
Where the hell did this fish come from?
Yeah, but they had the state NCON guys came in and everything to check it out, and people, because a lot of lakes have, you got Champ up in Lake
Right.
Champlain, everybody has something floating around.
Something to
in
get
there.
the tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have a good story. People love a good story.
Yeah.
That's why they love our program. We always got good stories and facts and information, fair and balanced.
Fair.
Like ghosts in City Hall. So.
Ooh. Hey, speaking of ghosts,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you're back. How was it? How
Oh,
was your experience?
the Green Hill Cemetery
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, how was it?
It's difficult to say. I know it was tremendously well received. We did 9 tours over the 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So I did 9 completely different performances as Captain Elisha Young of the first Amsterdamian killed in the Civil War. thing is, Gavin, I have absolutely no idea what anybody else was doing. I've seen the basic script, and the script was meant to be a guide to the characters. In other words, you're free to do with it what you will, but this is what they're about, and such. So
did he take videos of this? These
I
stories?
think somebody. I thought I saw a video camera at one point. You got to understand, it's almost pitch dark when I'm. In fact, even though the crowd was, the distance from me to the camera, after I was almost the last spot. There was just a joke after me. I was the last real solid character to talk, and after that there was the Widow Susan. Jokes. Even the first run was almost dark when it got to me, and after that it was pitch dark, and I could not see who was in the audience at all. I recognized maybe 2 people over 2 nights.
Did they have a lot of people come through?
A lot of people came through. Yes. Yeah. Even the first night, even though it rained, the rain was pouring up until the second it started, and then it stopped.
Right.
And I said, they can't. It rained all day.
Yeah.
And I was just, they can't possibly be doing this. And I go to the web. I say, how come nobody's calling me to tell me this is off? and here's Van Hassel's statement. There is no rain date. Contingency A, umbrellas. Contingency B, City Hall.
Now, so the picture, you look pretty good in the paper.
Yeah.
You look good in makeup.
That wasn't makeup.
Oh. This is makeup here. But it was good, and the write-up was pretty, especially about the Widow Susan. I thought that was, honestly, anything Van Halen.
Yeah, but they give away the joke. The whole thing is to set up this punchline at the end, and they give the punchline away in the review before. Well, there's still 5 more tours to go.
But anything Bob puts his hands on is wonderful.
The concept was brilliant. It was brilliantly executed. There's so many interesting people buried in that cemetery, and it took maybe 40 minutes for the tour to go through, and they're kind of wandering around, and that was a relatively small section of the cemetery that they covered. And you realize, you can do something like this anywhere.
I think they do it up in Fulton County.
Yeah,
one of the cemeteries up there.
Well, I would think in Johnstown it'd be a natural.
They've been doing it for a few years up there.
Are any of the Johnsons buried in Johnstown?
I don't think so.
Where's Sir William buried?
Who?
Sir William.
Well.
Canada?
That's a good question.
Because
he died
here.
before the Civil War, so maybe he is buried.
He died before the
Revolutionary War. Well, he did.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, before the Civil War too.
Died before World War II. Yeah.
So I think he's got dead for this program. Otherwise,
I've never heard that mentioned actually.
Because he died, before it started, so there would have been no thought about taking him any place else.
There'd be no reason to.
Someplace.
Maybe he's buried at Johnson Hall. I don't remember ever seeing it.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I don't.
Well, of course, you got Elizabeth Cady Stanton came from Johnstown, and so her family's all buried there. Broderick Crawford is buried in Johnstown.
I didn't know that.
Along with his mother, Helen Broderick.
Highway Patrol, right? Broderick Crawford.
Yeah, that's right. Or Willie Stark, all the King's Men.
Geez, that was on TV the other night, and I missed it. All the King's Men.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch it, and
that's a great performance. Yeah. That is a great performance. Here's a guy who certainly wasn't the handsome leading man type at all, but he had such a powerful personality that he had a fairly good career. Certainly in not only in the movies but television as well. Yeah. His mother was Helen Broderick. She was from Johnstown, which is how he ended up buried there. Helen Broderick was a comedian who was always playing Ginger Rogers' sidekick in the Fred Astaire movies, in Top Hat and I forget which. I can't remember whether it was Swing Time or Shall We Dance. One of those Yeah, Helen Broderick.
Huh.
Very funny. Always played the homely sidekick.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean,
Well,
that's,
we had a local dignitary passed away yesterday or the day before. Sammy Pep, the baker.
I
heard
see
that.
that.
I heard that this morning.
good guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good guy. Friends of our family for years. I went to work for him and his wife when they owned the Polar Freeze.
I forgot he's one of the ones that's been through a lot of hands.
It has, and they only had it for a couple of years, I think.
Somebody told me that whoever buys that place do not own the land that the place is on. Is that
Well, it's possible, I guess.
maybe that's why it changes hands so often?
No, I think it just changes hands because it's hard work for one thing.
Yes.
Short period of time, but it's very intense while you're there.
My God. Anyway, Mrs. Pep gave me a piece of advice that I have found useful throughout my life. And I was probably 19, 20 years old when I went to work for them. 19, I think. And she said to me, Bob, it doesn't matter how long the line is. You can only make one ice cream cone at a time. Just keep plugging away. That's all.
right.
Don't worry about how long the line is. Just
Yeah.
keep making one ice cream cone after another.
Served you well on the snow cones.
Served me. I was doing both at the same time. I was simultaneously doing both the ice cream and the snow cones. I was a hard-working kid, you know. Wow.
With you all?
Yeah. It's funny. Whatever they paid me, I'm sure it was minimum wage, but it was plus. As long as there's no line going on, you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Make yourself a hot fudge sundae. Well, you think this is a great benefit, right? You'd be surprised
You don't
how.
have time, right?
No, you'd be surprised how quickly you get sick of it. Yeah, okay. Hey, make yourself a hot fudge. Another hot fudge sundae. Yeah. No, with the sprinkles and the strawberry dip. Oh, jeepers. Yeah.
No, that's too
One
bad.
time I mixed up the can of milkshake with the can of ice cream mix because they're actually identical. So I put the milkshake mix in the ice cream machine, and it started getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
No.
Yeah.
Oops. I used to be a hopping place up there because that was
I think
the
it
place
still
where
is.
everybody went. You've got it's tougher now because you got the one up in Bales Mills, the Four Corners. You got the one, the Cool Dipper down on Forest Avenue. And I don't think that's a prominent location as it used to be. And people are just buzzing by up there and saying,
They don't seem to be doing a business to me. I don't know.
People like the stuff.
I've not been eager to go back there as an employee. They're great people. We, of course, the kids are all a little bit younger than us, but not much. Ralph is a year behind you.
Yeah.
And from then on down, we used to have a family tutoring service on Trinity Place, and I think all the Pep kids came over for advanced geometry lessons and things like that from time to time. And then Sam or his wife would always drop off a pizza when they came to pick up the kids, which
good
a little
pizza.
bonus in addition to the $1 we got, $1 an hour we got for tutoring.
Oh, good hard-working family.
Yeah, you better believe it. I mean, what do they get up at 4 o'clock in the
say.
morning every morning for forever?
It's just like being a dairy farmer. You gotta get up early every day, milk cows twice a day, and there's no holiday.
And there's no holiday.
Yeah. And
People got to eat the bread.
And they did some of their best business around the holidays, which made it even tougher on
Oh
the
my
family.
God, yes. Yeah. And always happy people too. That's
it was hard work, but they met people every day. They saw people every day. They had a chance to see their neighbors and their friends. You know, there's something to be said for that kind of relationship that you have and still
You know who else?
living for.
You know who else died was Anna Resnick, Richard's mother. Remember Richard Resnick?
Yeah.
Did you have him for the teacher?
No.
Oh, I did. I had him for.
No. He taught 6th grade. I had Mrs. Conley when
You had
he had,
Mrs. Conley.
when he was doing the 6th grade.
Yeah, I had him for 6th grade.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a terrific teacher. Really one of the 5 best I ever had.
Really?
Absolutely. And yeah,
He was young.
His mother, well, back then, yeah.
Oh,
You got to realize that's a few years ago.
yeah, a few years ago now, but he was.
He
young
was
when
just out of
teaching
Notre Dame, came to teach at St. Mary's. He had already written for. He had something published in American Heritage magazine by the time he came teaching us. Everybody hated him because he gave homework.
Oh yeah.
He gave homework like you wouldn't believe. And you know what? Best thing that ever happened to me. You know? And his homework could be like, give me a page on the Code of Hammurabi. Do half a page on Nebuchadnezzar. And so we learned all about the Assyrians and the Greeks and the Romans, and this is 6th grade. You know, we had a really good, solid foundation in Western civilization in 6th grade, and he was, I think, by nature a history teacher. He loved history, and we were there and we give speeches on current events. You know, you have to rip something from the headlines and get up and tell the class about it.
Yeah, I had Mrs. Conley in 6th grade and that big rostrum that she had up there.
Right. Yeah. Right. She had the platform.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Then you had to bring your homework up and stand in line and step up on the rostrum to show her the homework. You know. But we did a lot of history and with her as well.
Sure.
You know. And you know, we were fortunate. We had a lot of great teachers. But he didn't stay at St. Mary's that long. He was only
A couple
like
of
3
years. Maybe 3. He
You had him.
I had him. I think I had him his first year, and
Yeah.
I think my sister had him as well a couple of years later. As his, I mean, he's the teacher, and in his 3rd year, his sister was a 6th grader. All right, so his sister was a 4th grader when he was teaching me,
Wow.
and then he had a younger sister.
Oh, he had another one?
Yeah, he had a younger sister who was like in kindergarten when he started.
20 years difference. Wow.
And I remember him telling me how she, she could spit all the way across Highland Avenue in Fort Johnson at the age of 5. Oh, what a great teacher! What a great teacher he was. My God. And then remember one time, they all have their techniques, you know. He used to occasionally criticize me. I wrote I was very frugal.
Succinct.
No, I was frugal.
Nothing more than necessary.
I would take, you had to take notes in his class, what he was teaching. But I wrote very small, and I used like every square inch of paper. I didn't waste anything. I did off in the margins, I would have 2 lines for every line on the ruled paper and all this stuff. And you come down, Oh, I see a spot over here you haven't used yet. What have you got? 1 page of notes for the entire year, Mr. Gower?
Sarcasm.
One day my grandparents from Massachusetts came unexpectedly to visit. And I stayed up visiting with them and didn't get to do my 30 pages of homework. So the next day, I go to him before class and I explained what had happened. I said, look, I haven't got my assignments done because my grandparents came to visit. I'll make them up. I said, okay, no problem. All right. Comes time to review the homework. He calls on me. And he says, Mr. Gowen, I said, Mr. Resnick, I told you, remember, I didn't do the homework? He said, grandparents can do it. Oh! You didn't do the homework! Oh, it was like sheriff. You know?
Yeah.
Oh!
Public humiliation.
You think for some reason you're exempt from doing the homework assignments? Well, he said, you stay after class and do the homework.
Where'd this come from, right? Thought we took care of this already.
So at the end of the school day, I go up to him like I've been directed to, and he just laughs and sent me home.
Public flogging.
Make an example.
He,
Make an example. That's
even though I think his teaching made him exempt from the draft.
He enlisted, didn't he?
Huh?
Didn't he enlist?
He went in the Marines and became a hero in Vietnam. And I forget what happened to him. If you look him up on the internet, you'll find some tributes to him from guys who were in his company. But whatever he did, I think he ended up losing some of his memory. I think he was injured in the war, if I'm not mistaken. And I exchanged some emails with him a few years ago, and he said, thanked me for some reminiscing I had done about him, because he had actually Googled his name and came up with one of my blogs. And he said he didn't remember much at all about teaching at St. Mary's, which is unfortunate. But after that, I think like after 8th grade or something like that, he took me and Billy Naple camping overnight up in the Boy Scout Arch George camp.
Oh yeah, up in Vales Mills.
Up in Vales Mills, Broad Alban, Mayfield, wherever the heck it is. And we spent a great couple of days there. Good guy, really good guy. Anyway, his mother passed away. I had her on a jury once. I think I was prosecuting, and she voted not guilty. But I've never held it against her. And his father, Walter Resnick, wonderful guy, wonderful guy. They were in church all the time. Yeah. Anyway, does that do it for the obituaries? I don't know. It's just one after another these days. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Okay, good.
I don't think you're going to read mine. You may read mine in the future, but not in the near future.
All right, that about does it. According to my timekeeper, that about does it for the first hour, and we'll be back shortly with more of the show with No Name.